Welcome back to Hardcore Ultimate Iron Man. I've just been out here at Barbarian Village with the fly fishing spots and infinite fire. Doing a bit of fishing and cooking. 56 fishing, 58 cooking. Very nice. But that will be more important next episode. For this episode, we are returning to Lumbridge and talking to the cook here because we are starting a recipe for a disaster. Another quest from the cook here. And he does have one. After absolutely botching the Duke's birthday by not having any cake ingredients, we now need to help him with another bit of cooking. Again, something he probably should have been prepared for, but of course is not. So we will help again. Again. He is going to be preparing a feast. And he wants it to be memorable. 100 years ago, his ancestor did very well at this feast, and he wants to replicate what he did. And that's also the only reason he's a cook here. Just because of his ancestor. This is going to be a secret meeting with all sorts of important people. So he wants to show everyone that he's not completely incompetent, which he is. We are going to prepare one of the meals that was so very special back with his ancestor. Of course, the main problem is he doesn't have the ingredients. So, we just need to go and get it. There are some complications, though. Weird things are required. But we'll give it a shot. 100 years ago, a very strange meal. We need an Eye of Newt, a Dirty Blast, a rotten tomato, and a glass of Greenman's Ale. At least we're getting paid to do this, so that's something. Some of these are more straightforward than others. Like if we just head over to Varrock, we can grab ourselves a rotten tomato right from this chest here. I'm not sure. We're paying Pelter, I suppose. One rotten tomato. They're not here. I guess it's an honor system for this crate of rotten tomatoes, which we're going to be using in a feast for reasons. Next up, we can go grab the Eye of Newt and Greenman's Ale. One Eye of Newt here from Betty. And the Greenman's Ale here in Yanil. Those are the easy ones. Now the only thing we need is a dirty blast, which is, in fact, a fruit blast with ashes in it. A very weird meal indeed, and does get a little bit more complicated, because we have to make the fruit blast. Technically, we have had a fruit blast before, back when we did the dig site quest. That was a possible reward for turning in the level 3 certificate. But since we don't have that anymore, we need to actually go make one ourselves, because the pre-made just won't do. I question how reasonable it is to have lit a fire here on the wooden walkways of the Grand Tree. But nobody stopped me, so I guess it's okay. A fruit blast requires level 6 cooking and is not too complicated. Just need a pineapple, an orange, a lemon, another lemon, a knife, a cocktail glass, a cocktail shaker. It's a bit much. We just need to mix the cocktail, make a fruit blast. There we go. And garnish with sliced lemon. And that's what the knife is for. Slice, pour, fruit blast. Perfect. And the ashes are done, right on time. To slap in there for a disgusting looking drink. Also, I get a random event. A zombie shirt and zombie boots later. We are back in Lumbridge with everything that the cook needed. It is a giant mess, but it's complete. One quest point, and that's the end of Recipe for Disaster. So let's just head on in and join the feast. We got all sorts of people from all over the world coming here to Lumbridge Castle. We got Osman from Al Kharid, who we helped a bit with Prince Sally Rescue. We got Dwarf from White Wolf Mountain, who is enjoying the beer. Pirate Pete from Brain Death Island. Don't think we've had any interaction with him before. The Goblin Chief of Goblin Village. Unfortunately, with only one chair for the two generals. Scratch, a Glogwy, an Ogre, with a much larger chair, of course. Phileas, the Lumbridge Sage. Not sure why he counts as an important person from around the world when we already have the Duke of Lumbridge here. Evil Dave, who's not really that evil, from Edgeville. Ceramic Vars of the White Knights of Falador. And a Wagwe from Apatol. Running around and getting kicked in the face. Quite the group that has been gathered here today for this feast. Also, Gypsy Eris is late. And now the part of this cutscene which has aged strangely. Random events back when they were forced upon you and you didn't have a choice. These days, you can decide whether or not you want to be whisked away to another dimension. that's only a few people have had to leave, so I'm sure the feast will still be fine. And in comes the Culinarimancer. He's threatening to kill everybody, so that's good. Cast some kind of giant magic wave, which nobody bothers to get out of the way of. I suppose we could assume... I mean, they're still moving at the same speed as normal, so I guess we can't assume that was in slow motion or something. And now, time stop. Everybody is in a very messed up state here. And now we need to defeat this evil. What is going on? What is going on at all? There's a fantastic line here. Just what in the flipping hippo is going on? The terms we come up with, I swear. It's quite the popular phrase. Don't worry about it. Anyways. The crazy dish that we created summoned the Culinarimancer. Previously, that dish was used to trap him. So by doing it again, we release them. So, there we go. Fantastic. But we have stopped time, so we can deal with it once and for all. Now, what we need to do is free all of the different council members by getting them their favorite food. And luckily, since everything has been time stopped, as soon as we leave here, we've technically already defeated the Culinarimancer, freed everybody. So when we leave here, everything will be normal. Except for the fact that we can't come back into this room. Well, not this room. We can come back into this room. Just not the regular room in the Lumbridge castle. Can make for an interesting place for a drop party, where nobody in the middle of Recipe for Disaster can come in. Also, the room is larger because time magic, of course. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. So now, we can choose which ones of these we want to try to do. Many different requirements. We should also check in here. The first and most important one, for our purposes, is Evil Dave. So we will start with him. The first question is, why is Evil Dave even here? He's not a leader. He's not important. He's just some weird guy. Apparently, it's meant to include a dark wizard, but they didn't want anybody that's actually a threat. Evil Dave needs a stew to set him free. But it has to be a very specific stew. It needs to be perfectly spiced. And he's the only one that knows what it tastes like. So we need to get outside of this time bubble, ask him about a stew, And then we win. To Edgeville we go. But first, we need to collect some required items. Over in our house, we're going to be recruiting our cat. And I guess while we're here, I will store the zombie outfit. Just one more piece left here, and so we can actually take this out of our fancy dress box. But that's not really the main focus here. The other item that we are going to need for this quest is stew. And we're going to get many stews, because this is a little bit of a trial and error system. But you can use a little bit of strategy to speed things up. Enough so that 10 stews should be enough. Now we need to go to Edgeville. There's a few ways to do that. We can go to Ferox Enclave from my house. Possibly, yeah, we don't really need to restore run here. Yeah, Ferox Enclave. Then you go downstairs to Soul Wars. And then from Soul Wars to Edgeville. Also probably technically faster than just running from Ferox, since, bam, we're already here. Also avoids having to go to the wilderness, so that's also a plus. Could also use fairy rings, teleport to Varrock, but this is fine. So now we're here, and here is Evil Dave's mom. And Dave is in the cellar. And I'm not evil. He needs more normal people in his life. So that's nice. Down the trapdoor. And here is Evil Dave, surrounded by hell rats, in his basement of doom. Do you remember that stew you ate? That was evil? And by evil we mean good? We're still getting hung up on the whole time bubble dynamics here. But the best way to convince Evil Dave about things is to tell him that the magic requires it. And that makes perfect sense. Evil stew. And by evil he means good. He's just very confused. But anyways, it was made with special spices, just like the stews his mom makes. So we can go ask her for some spices. Doris, I need spices. Unfortunately, the hell rats stole all the spices. So that means we're killing hell rats. And of course, we are completely incapable of slashing some rats on the ground. So we need to use the cat. Luckily, we have grown the cat to regular cat, instead of trying to do this with a kitten. Things are already difficult enough without getting that involved. When we successfully kill the rats, we get some spices. So we just need to get a little bit of all the different colors. And then we can start testing stews. In the course of catching a bunch of hell rats, your cat becomes infected with hellish energy or something. Maybe it's just what he's eating. But anyways, along with this red spice we have on the floor right here, that is enough. If you do things correctly, you should not need more than 6 of each kind of spice. We'll start with 1 brown spice. And it's all wrong. Next up, 2 brown spice. And this is partially correct. So now, instead of using more brown spices, we move on to testing a different spice. Always being careful not to eat it. 1 red is wrong. How about 2? 2 red is also wrong. So that means we need 3 red. We don't need to test if it's 3 red, because that's the only other option. It's between 1 and 3. So now we just need to figure out yellow and orange. And then we can put the whole thing together. Boy, this is going to be one spicy stew. 2 brown, and then 3 of all the other ones. 3 reds, 3 yellows, 3 oranges, for a total of 11 spices in this stew. And now, it's totally evil. The perfect stew. Now we have to go back in time and give it to him before. The magic and all that. So we just return to Lumbridge. And instead of going into this room, we go into a time bubble and give Evil Dave his stew. And of course, we also need to remind him to remember what that stew tasted like, because he has to remember for us to get it to him, for him to remember. Luckily, this is an anti-time paradox time bubble, so that's good. And that is Evil Dave freed. 1 quest point, 7,000 cooking. The ability to make spicy stews, which is incredibly important. Also, Hellcats, which is also fun. 7 council members to go. Spicy stews can allow you to get +5 boosts, which is very useful for so many things. When it is worth it, you can avoid getting 5 levels to complete various quests, or achievement diaries, or make things. That is also why we got construction to 84, because with a +5 boost from the stew, and with the crystal saws +3, we can make pretty much everything we'd want. But we can't really afford that either right now, so it's just good to have the option available, I suppose. And now, since we're here, we might as well save another one. Also, my Hellcat apparently is not allowed inside the barrier. Let's see if we can get him in here. There you go. Welcome to the time bubble, Hellcat. Ain't it fun? the next council member, or should we say members, that we're going to help out here are the Goblin Generals. We need to help both of them at the same time, which is easier said than done. Either way, we need to head north of Falador to the Goblin Village. But first, we need some ingredients. Charcoal from Karamja, purple dye from a item spawn near Ardoin, an orange from Trinome Village, fishing bait from Port Sarum, a bucket of water and knife from General Store. And now we can use this chest down here. Not the bank part, of course, but there is some items in here, and more importantly, the food chest. Now we have access to quite a few easily obtainable items here. So no longer will we ever need to go get a pot of flour or bucket of milk or these spices. There's chocolate, cheese, tomatoes, apples, grapes, eggs. Just all sorts of good stuff. So we need the spices here. And we also need to make some bread. Much easier than previous times where we had to go find a bread spawn or make the bread ourselves. We're also apparently getting a bunch of achievement diary tasks complete, so that's also good. Well, that should be everything we need to go help the Goblin Generals. Unlike with Evil Dave, we can't simply ask them about the food that they had. They are too busy arguing about everything. So we have to find a different source of information. Downstairs here, we can meet the Goblin Cook. And if anybody is going to know what the Goblin Generals like to eat, it would be their cook. But he's busy trying to make a new form of cooking, which is very interesting. So we can help him out with that. But I need his help too. So we're going to do a bit of a trade here. I help him, he helps me. So we just need to finish his experiment. One vital ingredient, which I can easily go get. Charcoal. From the shops on Karamja. But the customs officers don't like goblins. So we have the charcoal for him. Also, the music track here is Too Many Cooks. I think that predates Too Many Cooks by quite a few years. Go look at that if you want to. It's very interesting. Very weird. But anyways, we've got the charcoal. But what is this even for? Now, whatever it is, here we go. Also involves sulfur. Put everything together for the best idea ever. Rumble, rumble, rumble. And explosion. Literally shoots the cooking pot straight through the roof. incredibly powerful. Just flying up through the roof, up through a table, up through another roof, burning everything. Except for us, luckily. I'm sure he's fine. And it worked perfectly. Very successful. So many results on the walls and the ceilings. I'm gonna call it fast food because of how fast it goes from raw to burnt. Very effective. Anyways, I need your help with the generals. I need a dish that both generals would eat. And that is very difficult. He's tried before, but the requests don't really work. Fruit, specifically orange slices, but not orange. Juicy maggots. Typically used as fishing bait. But the maggots need to not be bland. Also some bread. That's not crunchy. Soggy. Soggy bread. So we need orange slices, which aren't orange, maggots that aren't bland, and bread which isn't crunchy. Then we can bring it back to Mud Knuckles, and he can use all that to make a dish. It's going to be terrible, but here we are. Orange, specifically sliced, covered in purple dye, to no longer be orange. Instead, grayish brown. One loaf of bread, dunked in a bucket of water, so it's now soggy and slimy. Also, not a great color. Then we just pop some spices on some maggots, and now they are spicy. At least it's going to lend a bit of color to the dish. Here's the ingredients. They're terrible, but it's what they asked for, so it's not my problem. Then, they're just all slammed into a bowl of indescribable gray mush, which is apparently great. It is a slop of compromise. 2 out of 2 goblin generals prefer it. It is better than nothing, question mark. Either way, should be enough to get them out of here. For 1,000 cooking, 1,000 crafting, 1,000 farming, 1 quest point, and more chest access. And then there were 6. Also, there's a farming level, so that's nice. The rewards from the chest still aren't really too good. And there are specific things we need to do more of these guys. Like fishing contest. And big chompy bird hunting. So for now, we're going to leave it with 2 out of 6 freed. And we can return to this in a little bit. for now, I'm going to pass back out of this time bubble and get on with some other heroics next time. Goodbye.